For as far back as we can recall, developers have been hiding secret levels, rooms, and objects within their games as a way to provide an extra fun and exhilarating experience for their players. The term today is known as Easter eggs. They are not integral to gameplay, however, sometimes these fun little secrets have the potential to scare us. With that, let us regale you with our top 30 scariest Easter eggs in video games. Based off of the hit children's YouTuber of the same name, in their bubbly and cheerful children's racing game, hackers managed to find and locate a very strange and unsettling unused texture in the game files. Titled Dead Ryan, it depicts a shadowy drawn face with its mouth and eyes stitched together, with blood seeping from its openings. Some users believed it looks more comical than creepy, yet this was found in the game files of a game based off of an actual child. Just makes you wonder who's out there. Alien Encounter from Outlaws. In the Western shooter game by LucasArts, a strange secret area can be found if one were to blow out the outhouse using a stick of dynamite. Once you have accessed the secret room under the outhouse, you will have discovered an alien spacecraft. There can be found a small window that beholds you to the alien beings that the craft belongs to. Evil Tiki from Tony Hawk's Underground. In Tony Hawk's Underground, there can be found an unsuspecting storefront on the corner in the Hawaii level. The storefront happens to be guarded by an angry Tiki statue. Jumping into the mouth of the Tiki transports you into a deep and disturbing realm with the statue situated at the bottom. Jumping again into the Tiki's mouth will transport you to the beginning of Honolulu. The Hawaiian lore states that these statues are meant to represent gods. The angrier the statue, the angrier the god. Psycho Mantis, Metal Gear Solid 5. The Psycho Mantis boss fight in MGS5 is regarded for its incredible player interaction. Though not an Easter egg himself, Psycho Mantis is a psychic, and one of his powers is reading Snake's mind as a demonstration of his abilities. However, Psycho Mantis is actually reading your player card on your console, mentioning various games that you've played and achievements you've collected. Understandably unsettling for first-time players, yet it's easy to forget that it's all a part of the experience. Apartment 3C in Grand Theft Auto Vice City. In the heart of Ocean Beach, there can be found an unsuspecting apartment building just south of Starfish Island. Entering the Unit 3C, inside you'll find an open suitcase filled with cocaine, several bottles of alcohol, and most disturbingly, the bathroom appears to be covered in blood and has a chainsaw pickup inside. This room is believed to be a reference to the 1983 action thriller blockbuster Scarface. The Heart of Happiness in Grand Theft Auto 4. Liberty City in GTA 4 is one of the most bustling and alive cities as you get it for the first time. However, this may not entirely be just a simple metaphor, as in the center of the city can be found the Statue of Happiness. A reference to the real-life Statue of Liberty if one were to fly a helicopter up to the pedestal of the statue and land on the banister. You can find one of 4 closed doors and a sign next to it that reads, "No hidden content this way." Walking into the false door leads you to a secret area inside the statue, where you'll find yourself beholding the beating heart of the statue, suspended by chains. Is the statue alive? And may it tie into the other games? The answer is still a mystery. Ghost Children from Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Known for being one of the most popular and addicting shooter games in recent times, CSGO still holds one very ominous Easter egg that still has many longtime players scratching their heads. Cache is one of CSGO's cut competitive maps that is beloved by many players. Though, this map seems to have a strange area that still creeps players out. When walking through the sunroom just outside of Bomb Site B, there can be found a small playground area just past the map boundaries. While there's nothing particularly strange about this area on its own, it seems to play a very eerie ambient audio cue every time you enter the sunroom. Many players assumed it was simply birds chirping, until one player recorded, pitched down, and slowed down the audio to get this. Suddenly, this innocent playground just outside our reach lays host to something far more creepy than once believed: the sound of children's laughter, where there are no children to be found. Ghostface, from Super Mario 3D Land. After finishing level 44 in the game, instead of jumping on the flagpole to end the level, run behind it and stand by the fence in the back. Simply wait for about a minute or so, and a strange and eerie apparition will materialize behind you. Some have called this a Shy Guy mask or a Hell Valley Sky Tree, but the answer to this mysterious entity may lie in wait for some time. Monkey Family, from Halo 3. The world of Halo is a truly massive place with plenty of adventure to discover. However, on the level Sierra 117, there can be found a very strange and very creepy sight. At the beginning of the level, if you climb on the surrounding rocks and foliage, you can find a group of small, monkey-like creatures sitting on the rock face. The most eerie part, however, is the fact that they all have the same human faces seemingly stitched onto their bodies. The face is supposedly that of Marcus Leto, the creative art director for the game. Even more creepy, if one were to shoot the small creatures, blood spills from their bodies. John Romero, from Doom 2. After fighting the demonic horde of Hell itself, you've found ends with the Icon of Sin, the final boss of the game. It is a demonic goat skull mounted on a massive garish wall, with its brain exposed. Upon entering the demon's chamber, a disturbing chant can be heard. However, upon reversing this sound clip, you will get this.
To win the game, you must kill me, John Romero.
If you were to no-clip through the console and walk through the demon's face, you will find the head of John Romero on a bloody pike. He was the lead designer of the game, and shooting John Romero's head will end the game. Face, from Half-Life Blue Shift. If you take an elevator up to the old prototype lab, you'll find some broken vent shafts. Climb up onto the pipe that lays slanted in the corridor, and view the image of a man with a strange set of eyes that some say are meant to be eggs. This one speaks for itself. Out of This Dimension, from Star Fox. In Star Fox, there are a number of planets and stars that you can travel to. However, there is a known secret and downright creepy level in the hard asteroid belt stage. In the stage, there is a giant space bird. Upon flying into the giant bird, General Pepper will attempt to make contact with Fox, but to no avail, as flying into the bird will transport you into the warping field of planets and stars, with faces that have disturbing grins. Hidden Voice, from Jam Sessions. In the game Jam Sessions for the Nintendo DS, you can write, record, and play your own music in a fun and interactive way. However, on the guitar, if you were to strum the A6 guitar chord and let it ring out, a very strange and disturbing voice can be heard. It would happen that this was one of the recording artists saying the word next in Japanese. However, for whatever reason, the creepy sound was left into the game. Elsa In The Dark, from Fear. In the first level of Fear 1, there can be found a set of double doors in the hospital area. Though inaccessible, if one were to open and close the double doors repeatedly over and over again, they'd be transported into some kind of hallucination, one that shows you one of the game's first appearances of Alma Wade. Yummer, from SpongeBob Saves the Day. What started off as seemingly an online gaming urban legend soon became an actual creepy occurrence within the innocent children's game. While a group of enthusiasts were going through the game's files, they noticed that they were able to find sprite sheets that were just off the frame for each of the game's levels. Appearing when triggered, when they got to the Krusty Krab sprite sheets, this character appeared among other stored objects in the environment. It was said that the character was simply a placeholder for the developers to work with, as it was easily recognizable and explains why it was hidden just outside the game bounds. That said, it would likely seem that they had forgotten to remove it from the game. Hall of Tortured Souls, from Excel 95. Back in the mid-90s, Microsoft was known for hiding secret games within their software. These included Pinball in Word, Rudimentary Flight Simulator in Excel, and Magic 8-Ball in Access. However, in the 95 edition of Excel, the game Hall of Tortured Souls can be accessed if you open a new blank Excel worksheet, go to the 95th row and select the whole row, tab over to the column B, and then go to the Help and About section, after which you must tap and hold Ctrl-Alt-Shift, and finally click the Tech Support button. The game seems to replicate the early Doom games from the time, comprised of various strange rooms covered in the names of the dev team. However, in the end of the maze, there is a room that can be found on the other side of a narrow bridge. This room, understandably, is what gives the Easter egg its name. Pigy, from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Pigy is a deranged mass murderer from the 2003 horror game Manhunt that made an appearance in GTA San Andreas. However, its existence was not known until 2008 when YouTuber Darth Dementis posted a video capturing footage of a being standing just beyond the fog. There were several mods created to add on to the horror, however, none came as close to the original. Golden Freddy, from Five Nights at Freddy's. The first of the Five Nights franchise was one of the most groundbreaking games in the last decade. Spanning 13 games, several books, and 2 full-featured films, none came closer to scaring the daylights out of the fans like the first game. And aside from the terror of not knowing much about the game when it first launched in 2014, and out of its many creepy Easter eggs, none were scarier than the first appearance of Golden Freddy. If you've managed to make it to Night 3, there is a 1 in 100,000 chance that if you check Cam 2B, the poster on the wall will suddenly change from the normal Freddy image to a disturbing close-up of Golden Freddy. Closing the cams will introduce you to the slumped over and decaying suits of Golden Freddy. The Gyroid Face, from Animal Crossing. If you were to drop your items and travel to another town and reset your console, Mr. Rossetti will complain about not being able to reload, after which your character will have the gyroid face, hollow eye sockets, and a gaping mouth. This was a disturbing Easter egg in the innocent game, made to make sure that you never forget to save before you exit the game. The House of Screams, from Saints Row 2. In Steelport, if you were to enter the lower neighborhoods, there can be found a strange, abandoned house with boarded-up windows. You can't enter the building, however, you will be able to hear disturbing screams emanating from the house. Some players theorize the screams may possibly be coming from a man being terrorized by the undead, being that Steelport just so happens to be located on Erebus Island, the landmass known for being infested by the zombie outbreak. Zombie sounds from Half-Life 2. The generic zombies in Half-Life 2 are known for making some very distressing howling noises. However, if one were to reverse the sounds, they would get this.
God, help me!
Suddenly, the zombies in the game have changed the way that one would view them. The screams of agonizing pain and sheer horror just makes us want to kill them faster. Disturbing Gallery from Army Men Sarge as Heroes. This entry follows an urban legend turned reality about a young child at the ripe young age discovering something deeply disturbing in an innocent children's game. This player finds a secret room just out of bounds that seems to remain totally hidden until he finds his way through and is met with the horrific gallery of photos of one of the game's developers edited in a disgusting display of deformed features. As it goes, many years later the same player manages to find the room nearly 14 years later as an adult and gave us one of the most disturbing Easter eggs in gaming. Hidden Sound Test from Sonic CD. In the main menu of Sonic CD for the Sega CD, a secret sound test menu can be accessed by inputting the following sequence: down, 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 left, right, and A. Using the sound test, players could access a very disturbing Easter egg. Inputting the numbers 46, 12, and 25 into the sound test will transport you into a terrifying screen. A repeating image of Sonic in the background with a face of a maniacal grin. Even further, aside from the scary music, the image appears to be signed by the devil. Whispered Names from Black and White 2. This game has a very strange and creepy Easter egg that only occurs past 10 p.m. at night. At random points in the night, the game will mysteriously whisper your name, a very much startling feature for most new players. In fact, the game itself has a list of whispered names within the game files and uses the memory card of your console to scare the daylights out of you. Mannequins from Condemned Criminal Origins. Inside of Bart's department store, there can be found an array of creepy mannequins lined all throughout the building. This area is generally fairly quiet until you hear this. These are not inanimate objects. In fact, they are the influenced, disguising themselves under plastic bodies and moving slowly towards the player. Vandalized Faces from the Game Boy camera. In 1998, Nintendo released this strange Game Boy console that had a built-in camera feature to take pictures. It sold very poorly, given the low resolution and black and white graphical fidelity. However, the game seemed to have had an even more strange and downright terrifying feature, a button titled Run. Clicking this button will show you several vandalized pictures of people's faces, drawn over and given a horrific appearance, especially for the little children who came across it. Yuboa from You May Nikki. It is the name of a monster originating from an old 2chan post in the early 2000s. Yuboa is an eerie monster that can be found in the Pink Sea at Paniko's house. However, he can only be revealed if you enter the house and turn off the lights repeatedly. Doing this over and over can result in a 1 in 64 chance that the monster will appear in the center of the room. After which, you cannot leave the house, you can't turn the lights back on. All that is left to do is touch Yuboa. Doing so will transport you into a hell of your own making. The Hauntings of Room 302 from Silent Hill 4. Located in South Ashfield Heights, Room 302 is an abandoned apartment that becomes a prison upon entering. This room is deeply disturbing, as it is filled with several demented hauntings, including a fridge with a beating heart, the shadow of a small child standing in a closet, and of course, the stuffed rabbit that appears on the other end of the hole in the wall. There is a small chance that the rabbit will stare and point right back at you the more you look through the hole. Clown Reveal from Roblox. Created in 2006, Roblox has been a source of very deep joy and fun for many children. However, a rumor surfaced about a very horrifying video that seems to have been hidden within the back end of the game and can only be accessed using a command in the public chat box. If you are playing the game on one of the default servers, typing the command !I love you will show a short clip of a man in a clown costume in a very dimly lit room. And now, the #1 pick for the scariest Easter eggs in video games, the Dead Wife Jump Scare from Curse of Utaho 2. Throughout this game, the player will come across several jump scares, many of which depict very disturbing images of monsters and the people who turned into them. However, in Chapter 3 of the game, you will find yourself outside the shrine route where there can be found a Japanese temple and 3 torii gates. Walking through these gates will appear to glitch and cause the game to crash. However, it is not until several moments later the image of a horrific decaying corpse of a woman will suddenly appear on screen. You cannot close the game, you cannot exit to the Windows menu. All you can do is turn your computer off. The woman in the image is said to be the dead corpse of the developer's wife, whom he killed and is still on the loose to this day. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to visit xshark.neocities.org for more videos and topics such as this. For any video suggestions, ideas, or topics, be sure to open up the C-Box widget to the right. For any other inquiries, be sure to go through the contact page on the website.